Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, Manelson, who is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of RevenueWise, an AI-based Amazon advertising platform. Prior to RevenueWise, founded MarketWise, a leading retail price optimization solution, working with leading retailers such as Best Buy, Staples, eBay, Sears, and which was eventually acquired by Revionics. He currently focuses on helping brand and agencies maximize their potential with Amazon advertising in a simple yet powerful way. Welcome to the podcast, An.
Thank you. Thanks, Arlen, for having me over. Great.
Yes, not a problem. It's a pleasure having you, and I'm really excited to talk to you today. Of course, your background and your experience and your bread and butter is with Amazon advertising, and that's really what we're going to be talking about today. How do e-commerce businesses take advantage of promoting themselves across Amazon and these other marketplaces? Because the way we are right now in this current day and age, we're kind of in, I guess, a little past the midway of 2021. Things are still kind of crazy with respect to COVID, the lockdowns that are still kind of popping up now across the world. A lot more people are spending more time online, and this is really propelling e-commerce sales. And so, as an e-commerce business, everybody wants a piece of the action, and Amazon is is kind of the behemoth, and of course there's other marketplaces that you're going to tell us about that people can take advantage of as well. But before we get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you did get into what you're doing today?
Right. So it's actually interesting because after my previous company, Marketize, got acquired, I remained with Revionics for nearly 3 years prior to starting a new venture. What was actually the thought leading process was not to create a SaaS company and offer a service, but actually to develop technology that will be used in-house for our own purposes. And part of that was speaking to a lot of marketplace sellers. So the idea was actually to put something together in the area of arbitrage. So we started speaking to sellers, Amazon sellers, eBay sellers, early stage Walmart that opened up their marketplace to third-party sellers, and picking up information on how to go ahead and set this and build this in an effective way. We built a solution, and about 12 months later, we pivoted after understanding that there's a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity that is not being met in the space of Amazon advertising. And that's when we realized that we should start focusing, we should actually go after Amazon advertising and in this space, because considering that this has been Amazon's profit center and Amazon is focusing heavily on advertising. Right. So it's an area that's continuously growing quarter after quarter. And these are just hysterical numbers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is a really amazing kind of what's happening these days with these platforms like Amazon and a lot of these other marketplaces. Yeah, I was telling you before we got started, our business, OmniStar Interactive, we kicked things off back in the year 2000. And at that time, none of this really existed. There was no Amazon at that time. There was no marketplaces. And so I was telling you that, we worked with a lot of startup companies, a lot of companies to create custom e-commerce web solutions and websites for businesses. And, at that time, really, there was just, I mean, you had to sell it directly on your website. There was a few little small niche sites that you could, get some advertising
There
on.
was Yahoo.
Yeah,
Yahoo back
exactly. Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yahoo. You could get listings there. And so they were somewhat of a marketplace, I guess you could say, at that time, more of a kind of a general portal. But yeah, there weren't a lot of options, excuse me. And so these days, yeah, it's really, I think the main question many businesses have is just, okay, what's going to be the right marketplace for me? It's not about trying to find one. It's about finding the right one and, exploring, those options. And so really what I want to start off with is really what really are all of the promotional options available today if you're looking to advertise across Amazon or any of the other major marketplaces?
Right. So let me just start off by mentioning that pretty much today on Amazon, if you go to Amazon's marketplace, between 30 to 40% of real estate is promoted.
Wow.
So anywhere you look, whether these are search results pages, product pages, pages are heavily promoted, and Amazon itself does uses an approach where it's not very trivial. So it kind of like tries to hide the fact that it's promoted, so it's pretty much seamless to the shopper.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of ads that are appearing. One of the most popular ones are sponsored products, which are very similar to Google PPC. What you do is you just bid on keywords within the Amazon universe. So when a shopper searches for men's polo shirt, you can basically bid for that term. And when you do that bidding, you can appear either at the top of the set of the results or in the middle of the page, at the bottom of the page, and there are different areas of placement. So that's kind of like I'd say that it's pretty much a copy paste of Google PPC, basically, where you bid on keywords. Another option that you have is advertising on the product pages themselves. So once you get into an item page and you look at a product, you can also promote and target, whether it's your competitors, whether it's similar product, whether it's complementary product. You can pretty much also display your product and have it appear on those pages as well. And obviously it's an auction, so it's a factor of bidding. And that was the one that Amazon basically started off with. That was that's kind of like the pillar, and that's where probably around 60 to 70% of total ad budget comes from sponsored products. Amazon then realized that there are a lot of brands that are looking actually for brand recognition and brand awareness, and not necessarily immediate conversion. Like, coffee brands, like apparel and others that are looking to get some more awareness. And for that, they basically developed a different approach, which is called sponsored brands. And for advertising on sponsored brands, first of all, you need to be part of Amazon's brand registry. So any brand out there that's a private label or other brand, you in order to utilize this kind of advertising method, you need to have part of brand registry. Brand registry basically means that you have to have the brand under your trademark. So that's something that that sellers that are looking to go ahead and get into Amazon, they need to be aware that this is also part of the process that Amazon requires as part of a third party brand. You're going to need to go ahead and set that up. And that allows you now to use additional methodologies of targeting. It allows you also to put banners up on top with your brand. And these are not necessarily ads that are generated directly to conversion, but more for awareness. So you have these that are appearing at the search results page. If you go to Amazon, you're going to see at the top, there are typically banners that are appearing there with brand names. On product pages, let's say that if you go and you look at a Sony product, then you might see Toshiba and other brands. So it's kind of like that's what you're promoting your brand rather than the product, and that's what it's for. Last but not least, there's now what we call sponsored display, where these are actually banners that are on the side of the results and allow you to play with graphics.
Okay.
So Amazon up until recently didn't allow you to create your own ad with your own creatives. So it's kind of like it was a fixed and you had only one creative that was up. Sponsored display allows you to do some creative work and allows you to bring traffic off of Amazon. One of the things that Amazon are trying to do is lure in and bring in more traffic from external sources and from other sources that are outside of Amazon. With sponsored display, you can go ahead and do that. So imagine that today, about 60% of shoppers, I think the number has gone up a little bit, they start their journey on Amazon. So they don't go to Google, they don't go to Walmart, they don't go to they start at Amazon. So the fact that Amazon has such a huge sheer volume of traffic makes it a source where everybody wants to appear on Amazon, because you've got so much traffic going on. Then that's the asset that Amazon goes ahead and brings together with obviously a lot of other assets. But the fact that that's where people come to buy, then that's what makes it very, very powerful, as opposed to, probably some of the listeners have Shopify, and, to have other platforms that they sell upon, or Shopify, Wix, or other platforms that they use. And the challenges around that is you need to bring your own traffic, right? So, you have a Shopify store or Magento or whatever platform that you're running, you now need to bring your own traffic. So what are your options to bring traffic? They're Google, there's Facebook, and there are other sources, but but there are billions of sessions coming in and traffic on Amazon, which you're not getting if you're not on the platform. And that's why a lot of sellers and a lot of brands use a multi-channel approach. So you want to be on Amazon, you want to have your own Shopify store, because that way you're not going to necessarily pay Amazon certain fees, but you have to slowly build up your brand. Walmart have a marketplace as well. So you can also go ahead now, and Walmart has today several thousands of third-party sellers, which are pretty much private label brands, which they've opened up on their marketplace. eBay have been, kind of like, been not that popular. I mean, from a traffic perspective, eBay have gone down, going back on the days that we discussed in the year 2000 and others, where they were pretty big. But they too have realized the power of advertising. So they've launched a promotional program as well, where you're able to promote your items. And it seems like all other marketplaces are following. So if you're doing arts and crafts and you're doing Etsy, so you're going to see the same thing happening on Etsy. You're going to see sponsored products on Etsy. So it's pretty much all marketplaces out there have pretty much followed Amazon's steps in that, and because it's pretty much I'd say some traffic is coming in already, so they're just monetizing off it. It's not that they need to develop a product; they're just monetizing the traffic.
Traffic. It makes a lot of sense. And as Amazon being the leader, it seems like everybody else is falling in line under it. And you mentioned some kind of key things there with them now trying to monetize their traffic that they're bringing, because I know from my own personal experience, I'm on Amazon. I don't know how many times a week I'm constantly ordering stuff, because I'm all about maximizing my time. And if I can just pop on Amazon and order something as opposed to going to a store, I'm gonna do it. And so I'm always on Amazon, and I do think my mindset is similar to what others have, is where they're first going to go to Amazon no matter what it is, and they're going to look for it in Amazon. So it seems like it's now a starting point for all things e-commerce, because number one, they've done a tremendous job of really marketing and managing their whole Amazon Prime, and the 2 and the 1 day shipping and the same day shipping, we have here in the US and in other places in the world as well. And so people know that, and they start thinking about the ability to return items. They start thinking about the whole process, and they're like, okay,
it's just so convenient.
The
level of convenience, and the fact is that Amazon is able to give you that security,
right?
That when you purchase a product, you can return it no questions asked.
Right.
The logistics that is around it. You're going to have it the same day, the next day. It's just so convenient.
Right.
And, so they've created such an experience that it's really, really, really hard for others to follow, because at the end of the day, Amazon today are a logistics company more than a retailer.
That's very true.
It's all about, fulfillment. And they proved it. And that's why a lot of, we're seeing how Amazon has picked up more and more, and it continues growing, which you say, hey, where can it continue growing to? And it's continuing to grow and grow.
Yeah, that's so true. And you're really right about it, that they're a logistics company more than anything, because in order to pull off what they do, the same day shipping, next day, all of that, the logistics have to be on point for sure. Now, you mentioned earlier that, of course, a lot of the business owners that are listening have their own, direct to consumer sites, whether they have a platform on Shopify, Wix, or any of the other platforms, and they're selling directly to their end customer. And of course, that's all recommended. You have to really maximize the different channels that you're reaching your customers. One of the questions that I have now, though, is when you start bringing in all of these other marketplaces in the mix, it does require a fair amount of, I guess you could say, logistics on the side of the e-commerce business to manage orders from these different platforms and all that it takes to fulfill them. In your experience, what are some tools or resources that a business can use to help them manage when they're, cross-selling, where they're selling across all of these different platforms and marketplaces?
Right. So there are actually a lot of companies that came to deal specifically with that. I think that the most known company in that space is Channel Advisor. Okay. Where pretty much they take up and they aggregate your feeds across all marketplaces, and they manage your inventory in one place. So basically, you have an inventory where if you sold on Walmart, you need to know, and you need to notify Amazon the level of inventory and things of that sort. So there are a lot of solutions that were born around that, but the one that's most known is Channel Advisor, basically, that knows how to do these kind of levels of aggregation. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, because I think what a lot of businesses they may struggle with or are wondering about is, especially during peak times of the year, such as the holidays, or depending on the type of business that you have, there's always kind of the seasonality of a business where they normally expect, higher sales during certain times of the year, certain quarters of the year. And so, it can be difficult even just to manage your own sales during these, ups and these downs in the business. And so, it definitely makes sense to have a solution.
So a lot of these businesses, they can hold basically two levels of inventory. The thing is that if you want to ship and you want to get, and you want to maximize your potential, you're probably going to go with Amazon FBA, with Fulfilled by Amazon. And that's where basically you need to go ahead and ship your inventory to Amazon itself. So now if you have if you're selling on Walmart or you're selling on another marketplace, even Target and Best Buy have marketplaces allow third-party sellers to join. Then it depends on whether you're doing the fulfillment yourself, meaning that you have a third-party warehouse where you hold your inventory and you're doing that fulfillment, or you can actually continue using Amazon for orders coming in from other places, but you need to check it from a cost perspective, because Amazon obviously charges for that. So you need to see how competitive that is. And that's the case. We see sellers that are basically selling on their own website, but they're fulfilling from Amazon. So they're using Amazon fulfillment in order to go ahead and get that and fulfilled for their shoppers, just because it's so effective and it's so convenient. Again, it's more of a cost price, and you need to kind of like take that into consideration, see what the costs are and what makes more sense financial wise.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I've heard of that, where people are selling on their own website, but just using Amazon strictly as a fulfillment house. But it makes a lot of sense because, their whole supply chain and everything on their back end is like no other. And so, of course, like you said, you got to weigh out the costs of using that versus, fulfilling it on your own. Of course, you're going to be paying them for that, but you got to look at the fact that, that's definitely a lot less you have to worry about, and, you can be kind of rest assured that the products are going to go out. They're going to go out on time. If there's any issues with returns, that can be managed as well quite effectively. So makes a lot of sense. One of the things I was wondering now is that, of course, you mentioned Amazon and Walmart, of course, is a similar marketplace, but we're kind of in a space where those are really, I guess you could say, the giants in this whole e-commerce marketplace arena. Do you think there are any room for any other marketplaces to kind of crack a space in this, or are we at the point where they're too much? Are they dominating the marketplace too much at this point?
I don't think that there's ever enough in this space, because at the end of the day, it's the experience that people are able to provide. So think about, my daughter is 12 years old, and she, about I think it was about 6 months ago that she came across a site called Shein. And this has become so popular. It's just crazy. So it's a marketplace for apparel for women and teens, and it just, I'd say, why would we need, and there's so many websites and marketplaces out there, why would we need that? And suddenly you see that this has come up. So it's a question of experience. It depends on the verticals. Look at Etsy. They went into a very, very niche, arts and crafts and things of, that. So I think that there are areas where Amazon are still not in and are unable to grow, and have shown that there's still, so there is opportunity. The interesting thing is that more and more of the large retailers are going into the space. So Best Buy today offer third-party sellers to go ahead and offer products on their website as part of their Best Buy marketplace. So if you're selling, devices, let's say that you're doing mobile phone guards, then you can go ahead and you can market them on Best Buy. The same goes for Target. So more and more retailers that are pretty large are opening their digital commerce to third parties, because they understand that at the end of the day, shoppers are looking for to have as much more of a spread on products and as much more inventory in their cases where these are things that they're just not offering. So they're following that model, and you're seeing that more and more are coming up. Obviously, it's going to be hard to compete with Amazon, but still there is room, and there are verticals that Amazon on the business side, on the B2B side, are still not strong at all. Automotive, there's so many areas where Amazon is, and so is Walmart. So there is space to go ahead. We're going to see more players.
Okay, well, that's definitely good to hear that, there's still room for some other players, all of these kind of niche sites that have their own, kind of community or following in their platform, where, the items that these other niche sites are selling may be harder to find on, the Amazons and then the Walmarts. So definitely, good to hear that we're not, everybody else is not locked out just yet. So that's
not yet.
yeah, not yet. Well, on as we get ready to wrap things up, I'm a huge advocate of kind of looking at case studies of other companies that have been successful with any of these strategies. So in your experience, are there any particular companies that you've either worked with or about in general that have utilized promoting on Amazon or these other marketplaces and have been really successful? And what specifically did they do? Because as you mentioned, there's kind of a whole litany of things that you can do these days when you're promoting yourself across these platforms. So is there any business that you can?
Right. I think that the question that sellers and people that are selling on marketplaces need to ask themselves at the end of the day, as you go ahead and you have to deal with more and more things, are these things that you want to go ahead and address yourself, or is this something that you can outsource? Those are the questions, because at the end of the day, you need to be efficient and you want to focus on results and things that generate growth for your business. And you cannot be an expert in a lot of these brands, we're not talking about Nike and we're not talking about Adidas. We're talking about smaller brands. And they have a certain limit in resources at the end of the day. And just like if you want to go ahead and you want to advertise your website today, whether it's an e-commerce site or not, on Google, you're probably not going to do it yourself. So, if you want to do Google or Facebook advertising, then most likely you're going to turn to an agency or to some sort of third party to go ahead and do it for you. On Amazon, Walmart, and other marketplaces, you still can do things and manage them on your own. You have the option to use different tools that have been developed, and there's a big ecosystem for different tools and different solutions. What differentiates between the solutions are the level of automation and the level of engagement that you need. So, we work with brands that they're looking to fully automate, and they want to have as frictionless as possible experience. So they want to base everything on AI, versus agencies that we work with, they want to have control, and they don't want to just have a plug and play solution of, kind of like let the algorithm run, because there are different areas and different aspects that, algorithms have some sort of limitation and they want to have control. So at the end of the day, I think it depends on different factors of what the brand is looking for, how big they are, what their objective and their goal is. Are they looking to grow the business? Are they looking for more profit aspect? And what they are from that standpoint, their strategies. And based off of that, they can decide what is the best fit from a solution perspective. A lot of brands that get to a certain size, they want to go ahead and they want to outsource it, and they want to set it out basically to somebody that has the level of professionalism, versus some brands that want to keep it basically in-house, and they hire somebody in-house to go ahead and do that kind of work for them. So it's kind of like a mix, but it really depends on what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just like anything, any type of marketing strategy. You got to determine what the goals are first, and then from there you'll be able to see what's going to be the best route for you to go in, because there's so many options. It doesn't make sense to just jump in there and think, okay, I'm going to do the sponsored listings on Amazon, a sponsored product.
Everything needs to be aligned with your strategy. Everything needs to be defined and out of your strategy, because that's the only way to go. If you start just throwing out and shooting to all directions, you're not going to achieve optimal results.
Yeah, for sure. And you're going to burn a lot of cash in the
burn a lot of cash. We see brands burning a lot of cash.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Arlen, it's definitely a pleasure having you. I've definitely learned a lot today on the podcast about Amazon and all of these different marketplaces. And I guess the key takeaway today is that the barrier to entry, if you're looking to promote yourself, is still available, for any brand. If you want to get on any of these marketplaces, it's definitely doable. And you highlighted some great options that are out there. And it's good to see that a lot of these other huge sites are kind of following suit and creating their own marketplaces, like the Best Buy as well, and these other larger websites and Target. And, I think the trend is really just going to continue. So as the years move on, we're going to see the opportunity for e-commerce sellers to really broaden their reach, like never before, for sure.
Right.
Well, lastly, before we let you go, I always like to kind of switch gears here so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think our listeners and viewers would be interested to know about yourself.
Well, a fun fact, I'd say that one of the things that I strongly believe in is having a work-life balance, basically. Balancing up. One of the things that I love to do is surfing. And a few years ago, I picked it up again and I went surfing. I'm probably one of the older guys in the water at the beach, sitting on my board, but I must admit that that's just, so relaxing. So one of the things that I always recommend to people, find that thing that gives you that, that additional sense and that additional balance, and don't give up on these things. So that's just something something small about me, that fun fact about me.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually talked to somebody else not too long ago that was on the podcast that's really big into surfing. He's in the Southern California area.
Right.
And I told him, yeah, I'm in Orlando and I've always wanted to take some surfing lessons. So at some point I want to do it myself. I've watched from afar and I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to do it at one point. I came across
you should. I mean, it's not, just sitting out there on the waves on your board and grabbing a wave or two, even if you don't have to be, a top pro surfer. It's just fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, on. I definitely appreciate that. And, lastly, before we do let you go, if you don't mind letting our listeners know how they can get in touch with you and reach you if they want to pick your brain any more about Amazon or selling on marketplaces.
The best way is to just come to our website, to revenuewise.com. There's a lot of material up there. We publish a lot of content, tutorials and things around that are kind of like more zoomed in about what we discussed today, and they can find a lot of information there. And if they, happy to come in and contact us.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, for sharing that. You definitely encourage our listeners to reach out to you on
Thanks for having me over. It's been great.
No problem. It's been awesome having you on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.